All right, folks, we're having another edition of Mullings and Music and Memories. And of course, that means that yours truly, Marc Lee, is here. And of course, it's been a pleasant day outside, even though it's a little bit on the toasty side, but that doesn't matter because it's still good weather and all of that. And of course, folks are definitely glad to be dealing with the vaccine and definitely getting more and more people vaccinated. So that is wonderful. And we're definitely keeping things busy in that regards. So right now, I'm going to bring in my guest, Rita, and see what she's got going on. Of course, I've had some amazing guests that have come to me via iPodded and some of the other media sources and all of that. So, Rita, I'm glad that you're able to join me, and I'd love to know more about what you've got going on. And if you would share with our audience more about what you've got happening, we would love to hear what you've got going on in your world.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me. What's going on in my world? Going on podcasts like this and keeping busy during, the pandemic. Really just, working on my business, spending time with friends and family, of course, outdoors. That's what's going on in my world, Mark.
It sounds great. So tell folks a little bit more about your business and everything that you've got going on.
Yeah, sure. So my business is all about wellness and all about, improving the quality of lives of women through self-care products. It's really important. I know it's because a lot of women, including myself, it took me a long time in order to really fully take care of myself, like my skin, my hair, moving my body regularly. Especially in today's society, we're also caught up with work and we're sitting down a lot of the times. So when I really started taking care of myself, I noticed huge improvements in my mood and, even just like the way I looked. And of course, you just feel good. You feel better about yourself when you look better. So that's my business. So, like providing women with yoga pants and organic facial products. And so constantly testing organic facials to see which one works best and trying on different yoga pants to see which one, to have on my site. And so it's fun and, working with influencers and being on podcasts. And so meeting new people. So that's my business in a nutshell.
Sounds really good and everything. I know one of the things that people have been really shocked by is, of course, too many of us were getting lazy during this pandemic, staying at home, not doing enough exercise. I know I've been guilty of that, and I know a number of others that have been as well. So how are you trying to get people motivated when so many of us are so used to staying at home and not doing exercise?
So one way to ease your way into it, what I've been doing is I've been combining my, self-care rituals with, affirmations and meditations in order to increase my motivation to get more physical. So for example, and I incorporate crystals into my daily regime as well, because crystals radiate a certain frequency. So for example, I'm addicted to clay masks, and it's organic clay masks. So as I'm taking time out of my day to put on an organic, clay mask. And even the act of putting it on just relaxes your body because it's soothing to the skin. And so I say an affirmation to myself as I'm doing this. Like every day I'm getting better and better in every way. That's one affirmation that I will say to myself daily, but whatever your goal is for the day, you can say that. Like, I'm going to, do yoga today for 10 minutes, or I'm going to go on the stair climber for 10 minutes, or I'm going to go for a walk, and and then you can imagine yourself how it feels like after you take that walk. And that's one way to motivate yourself is by, forwarding the after effect. Like, what is that reward going to be? And then it's going to help motivate you. And I'm a big fan of meditating. So also I visualize myself doing the walk, doing the jog, going on the stair climber or whatever fitness equipment you have at home. And that propels you to take the action when you visualize doing the action. And of course, incorporating, how's that going to feel like? Because we all been there, right? We got to the gym, and the biggest hurdle is actually just getting there. And once you're there, you have your workout, it feels amazing. Serotonin and endorphins are releasing in your body, and you're like, why am I not doing this every day, right? So that's one little hack of motivation to kind of get yourself moving and taking care of yourself. And I incorporate crystals in my meditation to help amplify the meditation, whatever the goal is I want to acquire. Whether it's more intuition or more self-love or compassion love for others. I'll hold a rose quartz for love meditations. And also, like, as I'm doing my facials, I love doing facials. I actually hold my crystals too as I'm waiting for the mask to dry. As a part of my relaxation, I basically at-home spas. And I'm pretty sure everybody's like been used to having at-home spas since going to the spa has been, banned.
Now, I know another part of your Happy Being Well organization, and that's the name of your website, is definitely trying to get us to eat better as well. And I know I've been lazy in that regard, been eating way too much junk food, getting my friends to do DoorDash and a number of other things to bring me food. So that can sometimes be a problem as well. So could you talk to us about a little bit about how we should be eating better? Because I do know that too often we don't eat well. And I sometimes even think that when we go to the wellness stores like Whole Foods, or I like to call it Whole Paychecks, that even those products aren't as good as we would like them to be. So I'd like you to maybe share a little bit about the kinds of foods that you think we should be eating, and also the better ways to get those foods. Because I know I sometimes will get one of our food boxes delivered. As a matter of fact, I've got produce box delivering on next week. So I'll have them delivered to me in Wednesday, because they come to me every Wednesday.
Yeah, of course. It's a hurdle. So I do have some healthy snacks on the site for people that like to snack. If you're watching a movie, you're just chilling, you want to snack. Like I have lentil crisps on the site. I love lentils. I just cooking them. My favorite meal is lentils. So I'll share that with the audience. So my lentil recipe is, my background's Italian, so I've kind of made it like an Italian style lentil dish. So I boil the water, and I put my lentils in. Sometimes I mix lentils, like brown lentils with red lentils. The red lentils are a bit lighter. Brown lentils are heavier. So if you want to have, that to kind of balance that out. And I put in tomato sauce in the water, and hot sauce and chicken stock, a little dash of salt, and a lot of herbs and seasoning, like Italian seasoning herbs, a little bit of paprika, some little bit of chili powder, and what else? And a little bit of olive oil. And I'm pretty sure I make it so often it's difficult to make sure I list all the ingredients. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I covered all the garlic and onions in it as well, because I just love garlic and onions. And plus, there's so many health benefits to garlic and onions. Like, it boosts your immune system, especially the garlic, and helps kill bacteria. And it gives it flavor. You can add, whatever other vegetables too, if you like, to give it that extra flavor, like some red peppers or something like that, or tomatoes. But that's one recipe. Like, it's one of my, I'm addicted to that. And for snacking, for a staple, easy to snack is like just, buy a popcorn machine and just pop regular plain popcorn. You can maybe add some salt to it, a little bit of salt, a little bit of, personally, actually, I add a little bit of chili powder to the popcorn. So that's a healthy snack, and there's a lot of different, you can play around with different dishes with vegetables. I do stir fry with vegetables, fish, different, you can play around with different salads. So yeah, I don't
Now, are there
know.
any particular dishes that you like to put into your food that maybe folks would be surprised, but that you find it to be very healthy? You mentioned garlic. I've never been a big fan of garlic, but I am a big fan of black olives and green olives. So I was wondering if there were any particular foods that folks may be surprised that you actually enjoy and that you find that they have good health benefits.
Um, hmm. I personally have never found anything. I never experienced something that I was like, oh, I never tried that. Oh, oh, it tastes delicious. No, not within North America, anyways.
Okay.
I know I've traveled to France, and I remember, they have escargot, which is snails, and I remember thinking to myself, and then they also eat frog legs, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm gonna eat frog legs, but I tried it because I'm traveling, and it actually did taste good. So, that's something that I've experienced where it's like seemed like what am I eating? You guys eat this, but it actually did taste good. So that's the only thing I could speak to in terms of being pleasantly surprised by a food item.
Now, did you ever try any of the bugs? Because I know some countries also will eat bugs and things that we also might be surprised by. Like I know that I think there's some societies that eat crickets and other kinds of bugs, and they consider those to be delicatessens. And I know that it wouldn't be something that I would necessarily want. But you said you tried the escargot, and I'm trying to think if I remember ever trying that or not. I know I've tried venison, which is deer meat, and I know I've tried turtle, which is definitely an interesting meat as well. Even though it was years ago that I tried that. But do you remember ever trying like any of the bugs or any of the things that are out there in that regards?
No, never tried bugs, but actually, I've had alligator,
Okay.
and it was actually good, but it tasted like chicken. I think so I've had alligator, and that was something that was out of the norm for me, anyways. And I didn't realize people actually ate alligator. So I think that about covers my like shocking food items that were I was pleasantly surprised that they tasted good.
Now,
Yeah.
were you the person that when you were growing up was always the one that would be the person that would be eating the really good food and would be the one that would be the healthy person as a kid? Or were you the kid that was running there, trying to get Trixes for kids and some of the sugary dishes that was the more the bad dishes? So, I mean, definitely you're into the wellness now, but as a kid, were you into wellness or were you like an atypical kid in that sense, or were you a kid that was definitely doing this at an early age, or were you like the typical kid, like I said, that was doing sugary things, whether that was Kellogg's or Trix or Cocoa Puffs or a number of the other ones?
No, as a kid, I never really had. I never was like, oh, mom, dad, let's go to McDonald's, or I want to have this certain sugary cereal, or I want ice cream, or anything like that, or cake, or anything like that. No, I think I certainly, would have it, obviously, but I never really had, for like birthday celebrations and stuff. And I remember, obviously must have enjoyed it, but I mean, I never really, never really craved it. No, I don't have any memories of, asking my parents for that or wanting it. So I think I think I always kind of was into healthy eating. I've never really had that craving for that sugary stuff until when I reached adulthood, and going through university or going through any type of stressful environment, being really stressed out and having that high anxiety. Yes, then I would then want the sugary stuff to cope. And since then, I've learned to not use that as a coping mechanism, because I've experienced 2 periods in my life where I became very actually overweight due to using sugary foods as a coping mechanism for stress and anxiety. So another motivation for why I've launched this wellness company providing self-care products and some healthy food products to help motivate women to eat healthier and live a more healthier, active lifestyle. So I've personally been there, and it's not fun to be there. To be overweight, it doesn't feel good. not physically, and not mentally either, so, or emotionally. So, because it affects your energy, you have lower energy. And for myself, I have a small frame. So it was difficult for me to like just even move around, getting out of the car, like stuff like that. So, yeah.
Now, one of the other things I noticed is you talk about hypnosis as one of the ways that you try to get people to eat healthy and be better in their eating and everything. And I know that sometimes people can be very paranoid, and I've had a couple of other hypnotists on this show as well. So do you find that people are a little bit apprehensive about using hypnosis as a means of their dieting program, or as a means of actually even finding out why they are eating the ways that they eat, or are they actually very open to this?
Yeah, of course. There's always going to be people wary of hypnosis, like someone's going to control my mind and implant thoughts there that they don't want, or a fear of their behavior permanently fixed a certain way. But at the end of the day, the reality is you're actually, no one can hypnotize you unless, your unconscious mind, unless you hypnotize yourself. So whether you're listening to, like, meditation is hypnosis. Like when you're doing a guided meditation, that is a form of hypnosis, because you're in a trance state and they are giving you instructions to see a certain image and think a certain way. So in hypnosis, obviously there's a lot more to it, a tailored type of instruction geared to the individual. But at the end of the day, I think people have been hypnotized and it's worked. And then, for whatever reason, sometimes they break it. So it's really up to the individual. Like maybe it could be broken by, I don't know, maybe an association or a trigger came up in their life and it was a really strong trigger. And so it broke that new habit they had formed from the hypnosis. So it's not something that's like permanent. It's completely up to the individual.
Wow, that's amazing and everything, because I know that a lot of times folks do get caught up in that and they don't want to do all of that kind of things and everything. So I'm oftentimes just fascinated by the ways that folks handle hypnosis and all of that. But you also have a very big goal, which is that you would like to get to awaken 1 billion people. You know that there are 1 billion in the world. So tell us about this goal and how you're planning to accomplish this goal.
So, the idea behind that is, as human beings, we have a ripple effect. So let's say, Sarah is now more inspired and motivated to have a much more healthier lifestyle, incorporating being more mindful and having more wellness in her life. And therefore, she may influence her husband to be that way, or her daughter, or her friend, Michelle. And so it can go off into a ripple effect. So right now, I'm, in the early stages of like right now, it's like basically an e-commerce platform. And moving to the future, the expansion would be, having events throughout North America. And the concentration right now is North America. Events that would further like make the movement bigger and spread it, events around, just completely wellness topics, people sharing their stories of how they overcame their addictions. And addictions doesn't have to be a drug. I had addiction to eating sugary foods to cope with stress and anxiety. So addiction can be anything, addicted to being angry, or in depression and stuff like that. So yeah, so through the events as well, and then in the future too, I'm going to have like a directory of like where people can find like a yoga practitioner or some type of spiritual practitioner, like a hypnotist or an NLP practitioner, or someone they want to work with to further their wellness and strengthen their mindset, strengthen their yoga practice. And they can, so have that connection happen on the site as well, so people can connect with an expert in their local area. There's a lot of yoga instructors that work in someone's home. They can come to your home and work with you. So that's how that would happen.
Sounds like an amazing plan, and it sounds like one they can definitely work out. One of the things that you also talk about in your bio, which I found very fascinating because I know that I enjoyed, is that how sometimes we don't think about the fact that we're oftentimes meditating when we're doing common things. Like, I hate to admit it because not every male wants to admit this, but I actually enjoy sometimes washing the dishes, and I definitely enjoy the sound of the washing machine. And that's like a meditative sound to me and everything. So a lot of times folks don't like to think about the fact that even when we're doing regular household tasks, they can definitely be very meditative. Now, I can sometimes be a sloppy Joe, so I don't necessarily find it meditative to do the sweeping and the vacuuming and all of that, but definitely some of the other things can be very meditative and all of that. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about what you learned in that regard, because it sounds to me that you were even talking about that also.
Yeah. So I love that you brought that up, because a lot of people don't realize that they're meditating when they're washing the dishes, or even when you're driving in your car, because when you're doing something that you've always done, your unconscious mind, you just go into your unconscious mind. You don't have to think about it. You know how to wash the dishes. You know how to drive your car. And you probably, when we're driving, we typically go to places that we are familiar with, whether it's driving to work or driving to pick up your kids from school or soccer practice or going to a relative's home. You know what I mean? So it's like you don't even think about how to get there, and so you're on the highway and you just trance out, right? You don't even think to like where you have to get off. You just kind of it's all automatic. That's a hypnosis, because you're in a trance, and especially with washing the dishes, because the water is going and you're doing a movement that's very repetitive, and there's no really much thought to it. And so it's a meditation where you're not having any thoughts. So that would be called a transcendental meditation. So that's a meditation where it's just quieting the mind, and you're having, the mind is having a rest. You know what I mean? You can look at it as like a reset, to stop having those repetitive thoughts in our mind that cause us worry and anxiety, and then it goes into our body. So that's why meditation is so healthy for us.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I know another thing that I'm oftentimes fascinated by, and you talk about it as well, is the corporate society and how that can oftentimes be toxic. And I know that I've worked in some toxic corporate environments, and definitely, sometimes you don't even know that you're in that toxic environment because you're so caught up in the corporate America and, us trying to survive. Because I oftentimes find that corporate America is the difference between, say, a job and a career. And a lot of times if you're working in corporate America, in my mind, oftentimes it's a job. A career is something that you have a passion about, in my mind, and everything. But other people may have a different mindset. But if you could share a little bit about your own corporate experiences and how you discovered some of the toxicity that has pushed you to or wanted to get into this wellness space, I'm sure our audience would love to hear this.
Yeah, sure. So, working in corporate America, there's a lot of egos involved. It's very ego-based. And unfortunately, too, I think a lot of workplaces motivate their staff based on like a fear-based motivation style. So coworkers can get into a very competitive energy, based on fear, fear of maybe not getting that promotion. It's going to go over to Sally instead of you, or, so therefore all these little mind games start to play. And so, I'm sure this is something that, in my experience, I think people don't like to talk about it too much because, they rather, I think it's something that, unfortunately, that they have to kind of deal with, or that's their reality day to day. So they don't want to talk about it as a form of escapism, not want to face, the toxicity of that environment. I tried to mitigate as much of that negative energy when I was working in corporate America. For example, because I've always was so mindful and so cognizant of what's really going on between two coworkers disagreeing. So, for example, I had a coworker, creative director, and the one of the marketing strategists. The creative director was like, "You're not giving me any input on, give me strategy on what to design and stuff like that." So they would always fight, and then she's like, "Well, I don't have a degree in art or whatever, so like you should come up with like the concept of the design." So they're always like butting heads, and so, but it was really just like bad communication between the parties. So I would ask them questions like, like, Sarah, like, what is your concept of strategy? And then, Michelle, what is your concept of why do you think that the onus is on her? Like, what, so all of a sudden things started to unravel. And then they realized it was an easy fix anyways. And so, but the problem was, moving forward, it would happen again in some other form, right? So, because of the mind, sometimes the mind is so addicted to finding problems, and the ego, they're both feeling insecure about their roles, and they were competing, that sense of not enough. So they were, for some reason, they were always at each other like that. So then I started incorporating, at lunchtime, I would actually run guided meditations, and that helped the environment. People loved it, and because they felt more calm and relaxed. And it was a break from tension because it was a very busy, marketing agency, and any busy marketing agency is, there's a lot of stress involved. So, so that's my experience.
Definitely. Now, I know a lot of times people decide to go into business because of traumatic situations. And you actually said it was something that happened 18 years ago that pushed you into going into business. So could you share a little bit about that as well, if you don't mind talking about that? Because I know that that's part of what actually got you to go on this quest that has helped you become the person that you are.
Yeah, sure. So 18 years ago, well, it didn't motivate me to go into business, but it motivated me to get into a deep study into the mind and neurolinguistic programming and wellness. So 18 years ago, I was basically, as a pedestrian, like run over by an SUV in a nutshell. And so that left me with like traumatic brain injury that I had to recover from. So it left me with an inability, like my speech was impaired, my ability to walk, my memory was impaired, if I was talking to you and then 5 minutes would pass, I probably wouldn't even remember talking to you. It was bad. So I had to go through a journey to rebuild my mind. And in order to do that, though, I had to learn to master my emotions. And this is something that is often overlooked by people. And because everyone's always so focused on doing the task. So my task in order to rebuild would be one of my activities. I'd had to listen to a tape. And back in those days, we didn't, we had cassette tapes. And so I had to listen to a tape, and there would be sentences, various form of sentences, and I had to like memorize. They'd give me instructions. Before we read the sentence to you, it would start off easy, but then it would get much more challenging. Like, remember the first word, remember the fifth word, remember the eighth word, right? So, as you're going through this, you start to get frustrated because it's like, this is something that, before the accident would be very, very easy to do. So, then I would see like I'm getting frustrated, anger's coming up in my body. So I just remember, I just got to the point where I was like, my attitude was like, I have to do this. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to rebuild my mind, get it back. And at the time, I was a university student, so I enrolled back into school. That helped as well. So I used the anger and I redirected it to keep pushing through, keep doing it. I failed. Okay, let's do it again. Practice. It's with practice that we get better and better and better. And it's that determination and that taking your emotions of frustration and anger and transmuting it into motivation, transmuting it into fire, into fuel, to just take more action. And I had to, my understanding of how the mind worked vastly improved. It was just I was the witness of my own mind improving. And I was literally a prisoner in my own mind, meaning if someone had a conversation with me, I couldn't fully respond back. I couldn't fully articulate my thoughts because I would have the thoughts in my mind, but I couldn't speak them out. So it was it felt like a prisoner in your own mind. And I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. It was a very awful feeling, but therefore, I personally experienced, what that's like when your mind is altered. So therefore, I ended up getting well versed in I was attracted to neuralistic programming and became a practitioner and a master practitioner and a trainer's training certification and hypnosis and all that stuff.
Yeah, we've been going through a lot of stuff with both COVID and, of course, everything from Black Lives Matter to some of the things going on with the Asian kind of Asian hate, and definitely some of the things that even our Latin American folks have been going through. How do you think that your organization and the whole happiness and wellness kind of mindset can help us deal with a lot of these world issues that we're dealing with right now? So I just wondered if you could put it in context with a lot of the things that are going on in our world and how it can help in even dealing with these very pertinent issues that we are facing on our planet now.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, one thing that this has brought on is, I would say two things. Because the pandemic has forced us to slow down, stay in our homes, be with ourselves. Therefore, reflection has increased, reflection of how we were operating in society and the consequences of certain, societal systems or just the way things were, status quo and blah, blah, blah. And we're just so busy, we just don't give it much thought. And I think this is why, now people are starting to become more aware of things that just were not healthy from a societal stance and a personal stance, and also from an individual stance, being at home more forces you to deal with yourself. It forces you to be your own company as opposed to constantly distracting yourself through, being busy at work or going out with friends. We live in a very noisy world. We have a lot of distractions and people are used to that. So, and not a lot of people are comfortable being just with themselves. So, I'm an introvert, so that's like heaven for me. So I like being, just being, that's how I recharge my batteries. I like being around people, but I need to have both. But anyways, so this is a perfect time to meditate more, get into a yoga practice. And I know some people don't, maybe yoga doesn't, turn them on, or that, that's fine. Any type of movement, whether that's, cardio or, a stair stepper or just walking or whatever that is, because it's not only good for your body in terms of, seeing physical results or, It's also good for your mind because it's releasing the serotonin and you feel better. Your mind works better. And it actually reverses the signs of aging as well. You're much more sharp when you are regularly moving your body in whatever form that may be. And then meditation, I'm a big, huge advocate of that because, especially during the pandemic, because this has also raised so much uncertainty and fear. And oh my gosh, so many different, conspiracy theories, and it's just so much fear. And so that's not healthy. And so the meditation helps in that way, like just to get centered and grounded into focusing on pure truth, like what's true. Okay, what's true is, we do have a virus going around. Okay. And, so the government chooses to use the lockdown as a protection mechanism. Okay, so this is a reality. What can I do with this? Okay, I can meditate more. I can start jumping into wellness stuff to take the time to improve my life. And I do feel we are becoming, because of that, we're becoming much more aware of ourselves and much more aware of how we should be coexisting as a society with each other. So hopefully
that makes a lot of sense. And I know the other thing that I've been really fascinated by is how when the pandemic first happened last year, or first became a situation and everything, folks started paying more attention to Mother Nature and definitely paying more attention to what was going on around them. We even noticed that some of the animals were coming out of the wilderness. I know that there was talks of certain animals that hadn't been seen in some of the European coast and things of that nature for centuries and decades, but they started popping back up. And I would argue that even here in North Carolina, where I'm at, that we've seen the birds seeming a little bit more chipper and things of that nature. So I was just wondering if you were observing that in your home area, if you could just share a little bit about where your home area is and what you're seeing in that regards. Because I know a lot of people are definitely glad to be getting out of the mask as more and more people are getting vaccinated. So I was wondering your thoughts on that as well.
Mm-hmm. I'm in Florida. So, I mean, it's not like the rest of the states. But on the news, I've heard, in India, during the severe lockdown in India, that there were like huge smogs in the air, like they couldn't see. I think there was like the Himalayas or something. They couldn't see certain nature mountains. I'm not giving justice to this, but anyways, the smoke and the smog was completely gone, and people could see clearly through the nature more. So absolutely, and that's giving more awareness to how we've been living and how that's affected even nature as well, and even. And then us as human beings, how we're coexisting with each other and how we're living our lives is also nature too, because, we are nature, we're a part of nature. So, and this is where I feel like the pandemic has increased our awareness of the consequences of our lifestyles, and, hopefully we come out more enlightened and better as a society as a result of this.
Now, in addition to health and wellness, you're also a business owner, and I know that one of the things that some of my business owner friends complain about is the dream stealers, the folks that don't want to necessarily support your vision, or that don't necessarily want to give you the kind of support that you need. And another friend of mine talks about those folks that give you the brain drain, meaning they want all this information, but they don't necessarily want to give you the financial rewards for it as well. So I'm just wondering how you've dealt with that. And sometimes the dream stealers can even come out of your own family. So sometimes we hope that we get support from our family, but it's not always the case. So I'm just wondering how you dealt with this when you have these dream stealers in your life.
So dream stealers, it's a reflection of them first and foremost. Anyone that's giving you negative energy in any way, shape, or form, it's because that's a reflection of their insecurities. Their, if whatever they feel like they can't do, they're going to project that onto you. So it's nothing to do with you. So I think, once more people realize that, they'll have more compassion for people that try to drag you down in whatever that may be, trying to cast doubt on your ability to be a successful entrepreneur, or they're, giving you indirect insults or direct insults, whatever they may be. That is a reflection of them. They're not, anyone who does that is not a very secure person themselves, and so they need to work on themselves. It depends on, what kind of friend they are too. If they're always casting negative energy on you, then, and if you're trying to up level, you don't want to be around that energy. So I would minimize communication with them, keep them at a distance. And if they're really toxic, and if they're a friend, then cut them out. I know with family that's difficult, but with family, just keeping them at a distance. And not letting that affect you. So, you can always say well, thanks for your opinion, and keep a smile on your face, because, and that gets them angrier, because the whole point is they're trying to get you down. And they may not even be cognizant or aware that they are doing this on purpose to get you down. They just, in their conscious mind, thinking that they're expressing their opinion. But unconsciously, they're trying to get you on that same energetic level, and you don't want to be a victim to that. So you want to stay in your power by staying in a positive state. And for people that are brain drainers, I've had a lot of people that learn to pick my brain, and during those conversations, I just look at it as me getting, just an opportunity to be a better communicator. They're picking my brain. And sometimes when we're talking about our craft, and the more and more we talk about it, the better we get at expressing ourselves and expressing what we do as a craft. And sometimes light bulb moments can happen during that conversation about what you do, depending on the questions they ask. And if they're trying to pick your brain, most likely they're asking good questions, because they're motivated to extract information out of you. And that's when magic happens sometimes, where you might come up with a new formulation to something. And so, and you get better as a communicator. So I look at it as opportunities of getting better. And also too, you want to be cognizant of your time. And once you identify that they're just trying to pick your brain, that's their sole goal, you need to start getting better at learning how to shut down that conversation in a gracious and polite way. So, you can say things like, well, I'm grateful that you're interested in what I'm doing. I greatly appreciate that. I hope what I said was of value to you. And if you find this very valuable, since we've been talking now for 15 minutes, I, have other ththings planned and scheduled throughout my day. But if you want to continue this on a deeper level and, to get the goal or whatever, or transformation that you're wanting, then you're more than welcome to schedule, a program with me or an appointment with me, and I will email you the details of signing up for that package.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That you talked about crystals, and I've got a good friend of mine, Zach, that does one of our shows here, Funk Music with Zach, and he's a big proponent of crystals as well. So could you talk about the importance of crystals in your life and why you think that they should be important at others? I was actually looking around thinking, I have no crystals in my house. I probably should have some crystals in the house, since I know Zach got some, and I'm pretty sure Rita's got some in her house in Florida. But I'm just thinking to myself, I don't have any crystals, and I also don't have any pets. But I've been trying to change that, because I used to have cats and definitely dogs and other pets, but it's been a minute since I've had pet company. So it's just the old single man right now. So I'm trying to change it, at least get some pets and maybe some crystals as well. But I just wondered if you could talk about the importance of definitely crystals and other like meditative, I won't call them tools, but things that can help you relax. Because to me, pets, when you have them, can definitely help you relax, whether it's fish that I know some friends might have, or whether it's cats or dogs. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about the need for companion animals or companions in general, and definitely the need for crystals.
Yeah, sure. So crystals, any crystal can help you relax just by touching them and holding them in your hands. And also and for people who don't believe in crystals, right? They're just really pretty to look at as well. Like they're gorgeous. They're just looking at them alone is fascinating and mesmerizing. They're just really pretty. Amethyst is a purple crystal. It's known to enhance your intuition. And it is healing as well. So it's really relaxing. And you can have amethyst in your home as the raw stone, and that's really pretty. It shimmers in the light. And then there's you can have a tumbled amethyst that you can hold in your hand. And it's also really pretty to look at too, because it's translucent. And just the patterns and the structure in the crystal as you're looking at it is it just puts you in a trance just by looking at it. Because it's so mesmerizing to look at. But you can have them throughout your home as home decor. You can have them as bookends. And I would recommend having clear quartz as your bookends, because clear quartz bookends amplifies your productivity because it amplifies your focus. It's just emitting that type of energy out of the crystal. And it's functional because it's holding up your books, and it's in your office or your library, and it's part of home decor. And also you can have crystals as on happybeingwell.com. We have the bookends, and also platters, crystal platters, if you want to serve something to your guests as well. It's different types of crystals for that. And just, crystals on a stand to have as literally kind of like a sculpture, as a home decor piece to look at. So, it's not just serving as something so I use them as meditation, a big advocate of meditation. So whatever meditation I'm doing, I hold a certain crystal. So if I want to say, for example, I need to make a very important decision, and, and this is something that all of us, we battle with making decisions because we fear making the wrong one. So this is where we need to strengthen our intuition and trust our intuition, trust that we make the right decision. So I do meditations around that, and I will hold an amethyst crystal and a selenite crystal. Selenite crystal also helps communication with our higher self. So it amplifies my meditation. And also, like I said, also too, when my home spa sessions, when I'm doing facials, and I'll just lie in bed and my spine straight, and I have waiting for my mask to dry. And I'll hold crystals in my hands, and I'll place them on my chest and give myself kind of a crystal healing session as I'm waiting for my mask to dry. And I will put on some meditation music to amplify that session. And, which is beneficial. I'm relaxing myself, and, and it also helps, keep you young looking too, because it's it really, just by holding a crystal, you feel a difference. You do feel more calmer when you hold a crystal.
Well, now one of the things that I know that you probably had with all your experiences is there's probably been things that have surprised you that you've learned from your health journey. So what are some of the things that have surprised you in your health journey? Because I'm sure that throughout we've talked about some of the things, but I'm wondering if some of the things that have thoroughly surprised you.
Some of the things I've learned on my health journey that surprised me. I don't know. Okay, so I think when I first started with crystals, I was kind of skeptical of the crystals. I think with a lot of people I think are, because it's especially with crystal healing. I kept hearing about crystal healing, And so I thought it was like a placebo effect. And so, but it wasn't until I really started learning about the crystals and I'm holding the crystals and and then I started like placing them on my body during meditations, like, chest, shoulders, and hands and legs, that I because I know the difference between a meditation without crystals. And then when I use them with crystals, I do feel like it is more amplified. Like I do feel it. And so, and also crystals are known to be placed in technology. Like technology uses certain crystals as well. So, yeah, so I think that was one thing, my surprise during my journey, my wellness journey would be the crystals. Because I was always kind of, in the beginning, I was skeptical about them until I really got into incorporating them into my wellness practices.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I can definitely see where that would be some of the surprises and everything. Some friends of mine, they've been doing this event, and it's definitely been covering a lot of things about how genius is common and everything. And it sounds to me that you could say the same thing about happiness. So I was wondering your definition of happiness and also maybe your definition of genius. Because like I said, they've been running this nationwide theme called Genius is Common, but I'm thinking that happiness should also be more common than it actually is. So I'd love to hear your definition of happiness and what are some of the things that make you happy?
That's a great question. So my definition of happiness, is joy. The ability to feel joy with even just the simplest things, and the ability to transmute a negative situation or or being in a presence of a negative person and transmute it into a positive one. That is happiness to me, because you definitely need to have strong vibration and happiness in order to transmute negative energy into positive energy. Meaning, even like just what I said with the pandemic. A lot of people, as we saw, got locked into fear and anger around it. But there's, like I said, like I mentioned, there's been some things that are positive. Like we are becoming more aware as an individual or as a society of things that needs to improve. And so that's one positive that's come out of the pandemic. And instead of just focusing just purely on the negative, and if you're in a situation with a negative person, you can transmute that into, okay, they're challenging my ability to be a more effective communicator. So, and strengthening my muscle to stay in my power, not letting them affect my state, right? Change my state. I know it's really challenging at times, especially when the person's like so negative, but, and also realizing that that's their stuff. And I think when you get more and more, when you exercise that personal development muscle, and it does take practice and time and like a real understanding that it is their stuff. And I've gotten to a place where I just want to send them love and compassion, because they're hurting way more than they're trying to hurt you. So, that's happiness to me, because that's a testament of how happy you are as a person in order for you to overcome or transmute negative things and situations. And just being joyful, like just, appreciating, looking at flowers and appreciating whatever you have, maybe that's a crystal, or looking at the sunset, or, enjoying using your backyard, or, so it's, that's happiness to me. And genius. I think that's a part of being a genius is, your ability to transmute negative into positive, staying in a happy state and looking at everything as an opportunity to be happy. Everything that's come at us, we can use it as a like, how can we be better? What's the lesson that needs to be learned here? And, there's so many different ways to look at genius. I mean, that's one angle. I think that everybody is a genius in their own way. Like everyone has a different strength. And, like for example, someone might be a genius, writing some type of being like a philosopher, right? Like expressing themselves, and whether that's writing or whatever about philosophical issues. And a person could be a genius in human psychology because that's what they love to study and learn about and observe. And another person can be a genius in engineering because they're using a lot of their time that fascinates them and how to construct things. And so, so I think that it's a very wide ranging, and so I think it's just a person's ability to be aware of of everything, of people, how people interact and surroundings, and and focusing on how they can be better and how they can contribute, in their way, whether that's an engineer or a psychologist or a yoga instructor, so I think that's what genius is.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And we're going to wrap up and everything. I know that you told me you could probably give me about an hour and 15 minutes. I don't want to hold you too much longer and everything. But one of the things I was going to say is definitely we all have our role models and things along that line. And even if you're pursuing happiness, you have to have your role models as well. So who have been some of the role models in your life? And have they been folks in your family, or have they been celebrities, or have they been folks from ancestral times or history and things of that nature? But who have been some of the role models that when you looked at your life or looked at their life, you were seeing that they led a happiness-filled life and a life similar to what you would like to live?
That's a good question. I would say one of my role models is my grandmother. She has passed. But, looking back at memories with her, she definitely was, I would say a genius in terms of her ability to be happy. And she just loved, cooking and family time. And she was just always so happy. And around her, like her grandkids, and I spent a lot of time with her, just me and her, and she would just always get so excited spending time with her granddaughter. And I just remember her being always happy, like always smiling and laughing, and always wanting to do something with me, whether that would be like as a little kid, like dancing, or taking me out for a walk in nature. And she had many talents. Like she was a great singer. She was a great writer. So I would say she was probably my first role model. And my mom definitely, my mom, because she's always has this ability to always smile and be happy and like forgive people even when they've done wrong, and then my father as well, in terms of they're both very generous people in terms of giving of their time or giving to other people who need their time, and whatever they have, like, and they feel like the other person needs it, or to improve their life, they'll give it to them, like without even thinking about it. Like they're definitely like they don't have that. They're very generous in giving without. It's not even a thought. Like they love to give. And in terms of celebrities, I would say Goldie Hawn. Definitely a role model. Speaking of being happy, she's definitely a genius in being happy, and she practices wellness. She's well known for meditating and going to India, doing yoga, and Goldie is, whenever we see her, she's just laughing and vibrating, and like just by going for a bike ride with her husband, it's such a, she's just always in a very playful, joyful state. And that's the genius to being happy and staying happy, is being playful and not being so serious all the time. Yeah, Goldie. I don't know what other celebrities. That's a good question. Role models. Tony Robbins. When you listen to his stories of his journey and his evolvement, how he evolved, because he didn't come from riches, and he had to literally, he was like dirt, he was broke, poor, and listening to how he did that through awareness of others, awareness of self. Talk about genius there, definitely, he's definitely been inspiring and expanded so many minds through his story and his personal development, mental techniques that he's developed and shared with the world. Yeah, those are some. I'm sure there's more, but from right now, what I can think of immediately, definitely those are
some great ones, and I know the importance of grandparents. I know that both my grandparents, I definitely had a great deal of love for them, and I still think that they're guiding me to some degree from the other side and everything, because I know that my grandma Molly was a librarian and actually founded one of the first African American libraries in the state of North Carolina, and then Grandma Mary was involved in farmland up in Hollister, North Carolina, and was definitely also a school cafeteria worker. And we know that that's kind of like essential work these days. And even though back then, I don't know that it had the kind of respect that it should have had, but there in the country, it definitely did. But I don't know that it gets the kind of respect that they deserve, because, they're the ones that are giving that nutrition that you talk about in your wellness program to our young people and all of that. So definitely I have a great deal of respect for her, and definitely had a great deal of respect, like I said, for Grandma Molly, who was a librarian and had me get my love of books at a very young age and everything. So definitely, I think that those the grandparent loves, and definitely the love of your parents, because I know that both of my parents still support me. And mom just turned 79, and dad will turn like in his early 80s this month and everything. I think it's 82, but definitely, gotta have that support of those folks, even as you get older, and they've definitely got my back in everything that I do, and they still support me in a number of my endeavors. So they've been doing that since I was a kid, and they'll probably do it until one of us isn't here anymore. Like I said, if I had my way, we'd have that whole, live until 200 or 300 thing. But I know that even with wellness, it's not realistic and everything, but I still set my goals high. And, they say that the only thing that you can hurt by achieving an impossible goal is the fact that it doesn't happen. So like I said, I've set the goal for 200, not doing anything to make myself get to 200, because I'm not doing enough exercising, even though there's a gym in my apartment complex. I'm not doing enough good dieting and enough other things. So I've actually got to work the plan if I'm going to have the plan at all. But I know that I've not been doing a good job of that, but I can at least make the mental step of that's the first step, mentally telling myself that every day, because I think that that's part of even the wellness journey, is creating that in your mind.
Yes, yeah, that's the first thing. I mean, even Arnold Schwarzenegger talked about it. He said that, whenever everybody would always ask him what was the secret to, him developing this phenomenal body, and he said that when he would work out, he would visualize his muscles getting bigger and bigger, because our body responds to what's going on in our mind. Mm-hmm. So, and also our body does not know whatever mental movie that we're playing in our mind, our body does not know if it's real or not. So it's going to react as if it's real. So, so they've done studies on this, like Dr. Joe Dispenza has done studies on this, where people are visualizing themselves sitting in a chair with electrodes being plugged in them, sitting in a chair and visualizing themselves working out or running, and their heart rate goes faster. And their muscles are giving a little bit of a workout. I mean, it does vary though. If you're an athlete and you're visualizing running, your muscles are going to work out harder, because you have stronger mental muscle memory because you've done that so many times, versus the average person who's not an athlete, who barely works out. They're not going to have that mental muscle work out so much just by their mind. So it is dependent upon, your past, like your past history, in terms of like visualizing yourself working out. So yeah, and then also like feeling it too. Like, what does it feel like when you're working out? So when you tap into the feeling, it really motivates you to do it because then you feel good. And also visualizing, what is the result? What am I going to get if I work out regularly? Will I look better? Will I feel better? Will I be able to perform better in work? Whatever, how the many other benefits you're going to acquire from it, better sleep. There's just a whole list of benefits you can get from working out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What do you say with folks that get caught up in the whole? And I know it happens to both people that are on the big side, but I've also seen it happen to people that are on the thin side. So when folks get caught up in body shaming, and I know that sometimes even the media can get caught up in that as well, because they portray certain kinds of body images or certain kinds of styles, whether that's hairstyle or eye colors or a number of other things, as being the kind of epitome of what the beauty is. And we do know that we come in all shapes and sizes, and a lot of times they can also be all kinds of beauty in those various shapes and sizes as well. So as a wellness coach, how do you get people to deal with body shaming and like not have it tear them down? Because I do find that oftentimes people get torn down by the body shaming, and I don't think it's always just the folks that are big and everything. I know we've got a big diet center here, the Rice Diet folks in Durham, North Carolina, but I also think it happens to folks that might be very thin, that might be in that twiggy kind of mindset in terms of their body frame and everything. So when you have your clients that are falling on those extremes, what are some of the ways that you get them out of that mindset of that attack that they get when people are body shaming them?
They have to get more in touch with who they are as a person. I mean, who you are as a person, like your personality really truly is our most important asset as opposed to our physical appearance. And if people don't believe that, then look at Marilyn Monroe's life. She was deemed as the most, she was like literally on a pedestal for what a woman should look like of her day. Like she was like deemed as like the most attractive woman. I mean, she was like, the most idolized in terms of beauty and what you should look like. And look at her, like her relationships and herself. Like she was depressed and she had failed failed marriages one after another. And she really was depressed. She battled. As we know, I mean, that's how she died, from ODing on pills. So that's a classic example of like, how looking a certain way is, if it's really who you are as a person. So, once you have a strong personality and you love yourself, obviously Marilyn Monroe battled with self-love issues. If anyone doesn't know her background, she was like an orphan. Her biological parents like gave her up. She didn't grow up with her biological parents, so she was like in foster homes and stuff like that. So, if you look at how the evolution of why she had such a hard time loving herself or having healthy relationships so it's like that, just focusing on your personality more, that the outer stuff doesn't really matter as much. Like the outer stuff is sometimes a reflection of how we feel in the inner too. Like, for example, dealing with stress and anxiety or not feeling enough, you use food for that. So that's probably maybe a reason why somebody's overweight, because they're using food as a coping mechanism to fill a void. It's emotional eating. And you have to look at that component. Those are the core issues, not so much of, I should be skinny or I should be a certain weight because that's what's deemed as normal. No, it's more so like what you feel, like what makes you feel loved and confident. And by, when you eat healthy and live a healthy lifestyle, I mean, it's healthy. Like, it's like your body is more healthy. You have more energy. Like, you increase your chances of not getting like a disease, and you feel better. Therefore, yeah, it translates into physical appearance benefits as well. But I would say that that shouldn't be your sole focus, though. Like, you really, like, who we are in the core is what matters. Like, and I'm sure we've all had this experience as well, where we meet a really attractive person, and once they open their mouths, they're no longer attractive anymore. Right? So the personality, again, is of utmost importance. And I'm sure that we've had other experiences on the other hand, where we met someone who wasn't deemed as your status quo attractive by societal standards, and but when you talk to them, they become attractive because of their personality. So that's what I would say to that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And as you were talking about Marilyn Monroe, I was actually also thinking about like some of the other celebrities that have got a similar kind of background, including some that are even modern, because definitely I would argue that Lady Diana could probably fit in that same time frame and that same kind of situation, because a lot of things that she went through before she died and everything. And I would even argue that to some degree you could even say the same thing about Naomi Osaka and what she's going through in the tennis world right now, and the fact that she's actually admitted that she's been suffering from depression, and that's part of the reason of what she's been doing in the tennis world and all of that. And definitely we do see that a lot of times we don't think about our athletes and celebrities as facing depression or even having to cope with happiness and wellness until it gets to the extremes. So when they are fighting like the drugs or the alcohol and going to things like the Betty Ford Center or some of the other things. And that's when we start thinking, well, maybe they don't have the dream life that we all expected that they had, knowing that they've got to struggle as well. So it seems to me that oftentimes, whether it's our next door neighbor or our celebrity friends, we oftentimes put them on these pedestals and don't think of the fact that they've got to deal with life as well. And life has both its ups and its downs, and that's for everybody from the prince to the pauper and all of that. So we know definitely we can see that the pauper may not be the happiest person because he's out there struggling and everything. But then, you go talk to some of them and they sometimes have even more of a happy mindset than some of the richest people in the world, because they've, I guess, accepted where they are in society, or they've found a way to find happiness. Because, you can find happiness in your situation, even if it's a negative situation. You can find a way to make, what's the old saying, make lemonades out of lemons and everything. So you can definitely do that. And I think that more of us in society need to take the lessons from some of those that do that. So what advice would you give to people as ways that they can make the worst of situations better? Because we do know that we can definitely face some hard times in our life. So what advice would you give to people in order for them to make it a better life in whatever they're going through?
Mm-hmm. I would say, because you mentioned hypnosis before, do a self-hypnosis, like just by talking to yourself. And when you speak a certain way, like, for example, the gym, so you will say that the words we use are very powerful and can motivate us to propel forward and take those actions. Like, for example, I will work out at the gym, because when I work out at the gym, I feel powerful and empowered, and I have more energy, and I feel stronger. And therefore, when I come out of the gym, I am going to be able to complete that project with utter ease and with such grace, and ideas will flow to me so much more faster. And because my mind is working at a higher level, I have more mental energy, more clarity as a result of being on the treadmill for, walking the treadmill for an hour or running on the treadmill for 30 minutes. I will feel so much more pumped, and therefore I'm going to bring that energy into, my business, my family. I'm going to be able to play with my children. I'm going to be able to, laugh more because I have more energy and I feel happier. So I'm going to be able to share happiness with my husband or my girlfriend or, my children or whoever's around you immediately. Or, if you want to make new friends, I'll be able to make more friends easily because I'm becoming more magnetic through my high energy and high positivism as I leave the gym, feeling so much more happier, and I'm smiling and vibrating on all levels that I can contribute it into different areas of my life. So as you can see, like when you talk like that to yourself, it motivates you. It's like, okay, I want to go to the gym like right now. Like I want to have some of that. So that's one thing that people can do is like learn how to speak to yourself using powerful words that will motivate you, because obviously everyone's different. They're going to be motivated for different things. Somebody may not have a business, may have a job, or whatever it is that is going to, that you want to create or have more in your life, using those words.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now I know social media can also be a major thing, both in terms of toxicity and happiness, in both. But it can also be a good tool as well. But I actually recently joined because they made an Android-friendly clubhouse, and I've actually seen in some of those rooms that they have actually, said some people that were feeling toxically attacked, so they would go create rooms to kind of like make themselves feel better and everything. So I was wondering if you could talk about social media and its role both in the happiness journey, but also its role in maybe the opposite side. Because like I said, I found some great contacts in terms of business contacts, and definitely some great dialogue around some important issues in Clubhouse, and even some fun things around music and the entertainment industry. But I've also seen some rooms where folks are definitely going at each other and attacking each other, and sometimes even like having other kinds of natures. And it's not just Clubhouse. I also see it on Facebook and Twitter and other places. So I was just wondering if you could talk about social media, digital media, its importance to your business, but also how you don't let the negativity impact what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So, social media, just like with anything in life, it's all about how you use it and intention. Like, for example, this water bottle, I can use this water bottle for good. I can use it to hydrate myself. Or I could use this water bottle and I could, if you're physically here in person, I could just like splash you with it, right? I can use it for harm, right? I could bash someone against the head with it. Right? That's how am I going to manipulate this water bottle? Am I going to manipulate it for good, or am I going to manipulate it for bad? Same thing with social media. When for example, when the pandemic hit, I had a lot of like, oh my gosh, my Facebook was filled with fear-based content. And so it got to the point where, basically, like I have a new Facebook account now. And now it's just pure positive content, positive, no one like focusing so much on all the negative stuff. So I would say this. I would say this is anything in life. Like we can control and alter what we see based on, if somebody's on your social media that's like negative, just block them and delete them. And then you can control what you see on your feed. And that's very important, actually, what we see on our news feed, whether that's our Instagram feed or our Facebook feed, because it does affect, those do creep into our programming, like what we feel, any type of beliefs we may form unconsciously, like it will imprint upon us. So it's important to basically follow people that are having positive content that inspires you, that you can learn from, that you want to learn more about, like for example, following Tony Robbins, right? Because he provides all this inspirational content. So we can control that. And same with Clubhouse, like we can control what rooms we enter and we can get out of those rooms and then go into a more positive room. So yeah, I'm on Clubhouse too, and I experience that as well. But that's in all social media. So I would just leave the room and just not go in the room again. Especially take note of who's running or who's in the room, and just not enter any rooms they're running. And Clubhouse can be very powerful and positive. A lot of people, including myself, has made a lot of new connections, collaborations. I've learned so much from it. I mean, there's so many amazing people on there. that are masters in their field, and they're literally just pouring into people. And I learned so much, in terms of, like marketing stuff, entrepreneurship and stuff like that. So it's all how I use it. You know what I mean? It's like just like anything in life. It's literally like you're in control of how you use it.
No, that makes a lot of sense. One of the things that our founders talk about is education, and they talk about the fact that they feel that our education, and that's the founders of Pod TV, formerly IBM TV, but they talk about how they feel that education is still in the 18th century, even though we're in the 21st century mentality. They wish that we would learn more about finances, learn more about even the arts, learn more about a number of other things that could help us in our day-to-day lives and everything. I would even argue that happiness can be added on that as well, because I think that kids, when they're in kindergarten and definitely the early grades, are all about happiness and definitely all about trying to be happy. But then I think that we get caught up into like training them for society. We're training them to go to college or into the workforce or things of that nature. And also getting involved in competitions with athleticism and things of that nature. And I'm not knocking it. I've had relatives that have been coaches, and definitely I've ran track way back in the ice ages and everything. But definitely it does seem to me that as the kids get older, we're pushing them away from things that are about happiness. Like, the parents aren't necessarily encouraging them to do video games and things of that nature, some of the things that they may find happiness and joy in. So do you think that as a society, we might be discouraging our kids and our young people from happiness as they get older?
I don't know. I don't really see that. I think that what I see is, I think that parents, like millennial parents, I think that the way people are parenting is a reflection of how we were parented, and like a lot of millennials, I think there's a certain I don't know, a commonality among what we went through growing up in the 80s or 90s. I think it was the norm like our parents would work a lot, and I think it was the norm to just not a lot of education or focus was on spending a lot of time with your kids. Mm-hmm. And in that era, like if you look at the parenting culture of the time, and also too, healthy food was not an emphasis either. So I think that now whatever was missing from that generation, the way millennials, I'm a millennial myself, was parented as a whole. We are now like, I don't have children, I'm not a parent, but from what I see with my friends, I feel like they're recompensating for, that lack of a lot of parental attention, perhaps. Like I think that's there's, but I think maybe sometimes it could be too much focus on it though. Because I remember when I was growing up, it was the norm for us kids to use our own imagination and figure out what to do in terms of playing or whatever. Now I feel like, the young kids, are dependent upon their parents for that a little too much. And I think there needs to be more balance there, because I think that when I was a kid, my imagination developed. It got really strong because I had to come up with creative ways to, play and, and have fun, and entertain myself with my sister or friends or whatever, I think that, I don't know. I think that everything in moderation. I think that maybe if you coddle your kids too much, then it inhibits certain growth development in certain areas.
Yeah, because I sometimes wonder even, and I need to ask my nephews if they even know Schoolhouse Rocks and Of Zoom and Sesame Street and some of the shows that I remember growing up in like the 70s and the 80s, and even some of my friends that are in the millennial generation that grew up in like the 90s, and I would even argue maybe, well, definitely, I'm not sure about the early 2000s, but definitely the 90s, they knew about those shows as well. So they definitely knew about Schoolhouse Rocks and I'm Just a Bill and some of those other kind of like novel songs that you would see on TV and everything. And I don't know that my nephews know those songs. So, like I said, I need to ask them at some point if that's something that they're aware of or not aware of. If I start humming it, if they'll go along with the tune and know what I'm humming, or they'll be like, Uncle Mark, you're coming up with something that I have no clue what that is. So I'll have to see how they do in that regards. I know that music is also something that a lot of my friends are involved in, and some of them think that that is also one of the keys to happiness and unity. Because I know one of my friends talks about how no matter what's going on, that if it's and no matter what kind of music it is, that's a place that people put aside their differences, whether that's religious differences or orientation differences or even race and ethnicity differences, because a lot of times it's all about that commonality of being there to hear that good music, whatever that music is, whether you're a jazz fan or a rock fan or a funk fan or blues, whatever music is drawing you there, you could care less whether that neighbor of yours is and I'll just use North Carolina as an example, a Jesse Helms supporter or a Terry Sanford supporter, whether he's left or right or whether he's gay or straight. You just want to be there and enjoy the music with them. So I was just wondering, how important is music in your life, and do you try to use that as a way to balance yourself and have happiness in your life?
Yeah, music is definitely a vital portion of wellness. Like, it's already been proven through studies that certain frequencies affect, water. I think we've seen, like, on Facebook, I remember years ago, there were so many videos people would post about, music being played and how it was affecting the molecules of the water and stuff like that. So it's definitely life-giving. Music and certain frequencies are really do affect can affect our molecules in DNA. We're made up of like 80% water. So it's definitely important to listen to positive music. It just immediately uplifts your mood, and it's a huge psychological mood lifter straight away. And especially it's triggering, depending upon the song and the lyrics, it could trigger positive memories and stuff like that. There's so many, positive things about music. Yeah, definitely. I listen to certain frequencies and during my meditation, just a love frequency or healing frequency or, clearing away any type of negative blockages, so many different frequencies you can listen to, just certain sounds that are very, very beneficial.
Yeah, no doubt about that. That music is important. Could you talk about the importance of humor as well? Because I do think that humor is something else in terms of happiness that we don't oftentimes think about. We know that it's good to laugh. We know that laughter definitely gives us some relief of some of those things that we need out of our body, just like sometimes certain physical activities, whether that's exercise or whether that's physical intimacy, also release some of those endorphins as well. But definitely, I think that laughter is one of those important ones. But I was just wondering if we could talk about that and maybe even the intimacy level, because I do think that intimacy is also important for us to be happy as well.
Yeah. So, laughter is hugely important, whether it's laughing with your partner, I'm lucky to have a partner that he's very comical. So I'm always laughing. He's a big jokester, but watching comedy shows is important. Hopefully when once everybody's kind of out of lockdown, everyone can enjoy live comedy shows again. But in the intern, watching them on YouTube or Netflix or just on regular cable is important to do. Having a good laugh, or watching comedy movies, joking around with friends, yeah, it's an immediate serotonin release.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And definitely that it's very important to have somebody that's on your side as well. And it sounds like you've got a great partner and everything. So I do think that that's something else that helps as well. Like I mentioned earlier, sometimes that companion can be a companion animal or it can be a companion human. It can even be a best friend. I know that I've got a young uh, buddy of mine who considers me like his play uncle. And I know he oftentimes talks about the twin flame in his life and everything because he's feeling that he's found that perfect relationship, even though he's at a young age. So, like I said, maybe that'll change as his life goes on and he may figure out that that's not the one or it might be the one. We'll just figure that out as his life goes on and all of that. But definitely, I know that he's oftentimes asking for advice and asking for just kind of like things to do. And one of the things I try to do in my conversation with him is encourage him and not have him get down because we know that even in the pursuit of relationships, we can sometimes be our own worst enemies because we can sometimes attack ourselves or attack the way of what we feel the other person is going through or what they're doing within the relationship. So I just wondered if you could even refer to a little bit about that as well, because I do think that that's one of those toxicities that we also deal with just in our own lives is relationship toxicity. And sometimes that's self-inflicted toxicity in my mindset, because I know that a lot of times I've been in relationships where I've either felt that I was like not going or concentrating on the person that I thought I might want because I didn't feel that I had the characteristics that they wanted or in their life. So I might be self-defeating in that regards. And then other times I might be like, looking the gem that I've got in my hands and ignoring it, even though it's a gem in my hand and everything. So like I said, I was wondering if you could share a little bit about your thoughts about the importance of happiness and wellness, even within relationships.
Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely important to be in a healthy relationship. And if you have a toxic partner or someone that's not accepting of you, then that is the time to end the relationship. You need to have a partner that you share values and beliefs with, and who appreciates you as a person. So yeah, so that's what I would say to that. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I do know that sometimes, even within relationships, we sometimes find ourselves overjudging. And like I said, sometimes we are overjudging the situation or even underjudging the situations as well. Because I've seen that in a number of relationships, including some that I've seen in divorce, which has actually shocked me because sometimes I'm going like, they look like the perfect couple. And then when you talk to the partners, you find out that one of the others might have been over or under analyzing what was going on in the relationship. So I definitely agree that if it's toxic, you need to get out of those as fast as possible. Because I know I literally had to walk away from a relationship because it was feeling much too toxic, and I was not feeling like it was doing anything but bringing me down and bringing me into depression. Because I know I've been in a couple of those, and one of those I literally remember walking into a mall area, and this was like maybe when I was in my 30s, so mom must have been in her 50s, and I was literally looking down at the ground, like at the gravel, and mom was looking at me like, what's the matter? And that's when I realized at that moment that I had gone through such a relationship that it had done negative things to my own wealth. So I had to actually do some reanalysis and some re-things in my own life in order to get back into a healthier environment and everything, and a healthier mindset of my own.
mm-hmm. Yeah, so when people are constantly going into a negative, toxic relationship, it's a reflection of they need to do inner work themselves, because they're obviously drawn to that unconsciously. So that's what that is. So it's, not feeling enough, or they feel they don't deserve a healthy partner, or self-love issues. It could be, maybe they keep manifesting mommy or daddy. They were abused by their mother or father, so they keep manifesting that relationship because, they haven't healed that trauma. So that's what that's about. So they have to heal and release their trauma.
No, and that's definitely what I had to do. I had to go do some self-reflecting, figure out why I was being drawn to those. I know my brother used to tell me that he would always find me drawing to the, as he called it, the crazies, and definitely things along those lines and everything. So I had to do some reflection as to why I was being drawn into those kind of situations. And you're right, I had to come to terms with some of my own desires that might not have been realistic, or that some of the things that were going on in my own life. And after I came to terms with those, then it was easier to come together with more healthy relationships. So I'm glad to say that they're much more healthier in this day and time versus that day and time, which was decades ago and everything, because I did have to reflect, because you do have to do that self-reflection. Like I said earlier, I'm definitely going to let you go and everything. But one thing I get all my guests to do is I get them to share their positive message to the world, because it is an international platform that we're on. Pod TV has got listeners in South Africa, in Malaysia, in England, in a number of other places in Latin America, and of course all 50 states. And we definitely have shows from a variety of places as well, because I know there's shows that come out of South Africa, out of Nigeria, of course, various parts of the United States, including Colorado, North Carolina, believe out of Florida, and a couple of other places as well. So that being said, what kind of advice or things would you give to this global community as we are entering almost the middle of 2021 and all of that? And of course, as more and more of us are coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe it's the middle of 2021. I mean, that's just so crazy. Time's flying so fast. That, what are the lessons that we, need to learn? Like, taking advantage of the time, to be with ourselves and be with our loved ones, and be aware of, if there's anything that we needed to work on, when you're trapped in a home with, your husband or your kids, and you're always fighting, then because you're not going to work or what have you, then you need to look at that and, see it as an opportunity that, like, hey, this is like giving us a chance to fix this and figure out what needs to be healed, and, to move on better as a family unit. Or if you're solo, like you're alone, like single and not in a family unit, what you can do, like whatever goals you have, and if you're not achieving them, then taking this opportunity of if you're self-sabotaging, or what negative limiting beliefs you may hold, what conflicting values you may have, and then start working on that, or how to incorporate meditation and yoga into your life. Just being more mindful, so this way you can create the life that you desire. So I think that is one of the opportunities the pandemic has given us.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, if you tell folks how they can reach you, and if you got any social media handles, Clubhouse handles, any other handles that you would like to share, I'm sure that folks would love to get that from you right now. So any ways that they can reach you, including the website.
Yeah, sure. So my social media. So I am on Clubhouse. I do run a regular room every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's called Mind Shift for Life Shift, and it's connected to my club, which is Mind Shift for Life Shift, where we talk about basically all the things that we've discussed on your show, Mark, and we go in depth in the room every Thursday. For example, if you have a limiting belief, how I'll cover techniques and how to get rid of it. Basically go deep into how to identify, limiting beliefs or things that we're doing to self-sabotage, and techniques to improve ourselves specifically, and bad habits, and getting rid of bad habits and installing new ones. So on Clubhouse, my name is Rita Farrugia. So my last name is spelled Farruggia. And my social media is for Instagram. It's at Happy Being Well, and on Facebook it's at Happy Being Well, and my website is happybeingwell.com. And the website it's not just, it's also an educational platform too. Right now it's going to be more expanding in terms of more videos and more ebooks for free downloads, and to learn more about different meditation techniques and practices. So right now you can go on the website and download a free ebook on how to meditate more easily. So I know people out there struggle with meditation, because especially when they're a beginner, because like all of us do, we have an overthinking mind. We're always thinking, we're so used to being in our mind, in our minds, because we're working all the time or whatever. We have to think about what we're doing. And so I have meditation hacks in the ebook. So how to overcome those challenges to develop a very strong, consistent meditation practice. Like one meditation hack in there amongst many is like staring at a candle flame. And I have a blog on happybeingwell.com as well. So there's many blog articles that touch upon crystals and how to create an epic bath, and also chakras and why they're important, why they're so popular, and how to identify your block chakras and how to unblock those chakras, and meditation techniques as well on the blog as well. And obviously you can get your crystals on happybeingwell.com, very stylish, comfy yoga leggings and organic facials and natural soaps and essential oils for aromatherapy and sage and Palo Santo. So basically all products for your spiritual practices and self-care practices. And that's how they can reach me, Mark.
Well, I appreciate it. You actually mentioned, I'm going to just kind of like segue to one of your other passions just really quickly. Can you talk about the natural soaps and why they are so important? Because I do believe in natural soaps and got some friends that do shea butter and some of the other natural kinds of soaps, even though I've not been doing it nearly enough because I've been going and getting the bad soaps like Leopard and Dove and those kind of soaps and everything. But I know I need to do better with the natural soaps. But talk about the importance of natural soaps and their role in wellness.
Yeah, sure. So basically it's really simple. It's just they're natural. Like they don't have any of those chemical components that they normally have when, in the commercial soaps and when they do mass production. So with the natural soaps, they're handmade, by a variety of people, by Americans who love making handmade soaps. So all the products are, based in America, ships only in America. So that's really it with the natural soaps. It's just that it's literally just made out of natural organic ingredients. And you don't have any, chemical compounds, going on your skin and then entering into your bloodstream.
Well, that's very important and everything. Well, like I said, I'm definitely glad that you were able to come on. I hope that you will get a chance to come back later and share some more of your wealth of knowledge. I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you, and I'm definitely going to bring up one of my Genius's common messages, and we're going to go from there. So definitely, I want to thank you for being a guest, and hopefully I'll see you come back.
Yeah, sure. I loved being on. Thanks for having me on, Mark, and have a wonderful day and have a wonderful week. And I would love to come back on. So thanks, Mark. And so have a good day.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too, Mark.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Level talent. Then you have to believe in it so hard because people put their shit and their insecurities on you.
Squad made the beat.
My name is Scott Galley, and I'm the CEO of Haystack Industries, and I am a genius.
Hey y'all, it's TSU The Buzz Radio with your host, I am Zaire, also known as DJ Roz, and I am Genius.
Our job is to find that genius level talent and then to apply it in a way that supports that genius level talent.
My name is Marc Lee. I'm a musician and I am a genius. I sing because I'm happy, and I sing because I'm free. His eye is on the spell.
My name is Justice. My genius is music. Genius is coming.
Doesn't mean you have to walk around planting unwanted seeds. Doesn't mean you have to walk around with all the guns.
My name is Mira Moffitt, and my genius is poetry. Genius is coming.
Hi, I'm Celeste Stein, an associate professor professor of mass communication. Although I have a lot of interests, my genius is actually nurturing and helping others to achieve their full potential. I currently teach at Tennessee State University, where genius is common.
I
am a genius.
My name is Gabriel Golden. I'm a student at Tennessee State University, and everyone has a genius in them. So I challenge you to find your genius.
Genius is common.
My name is Malik Yoba. I'm here with a friendly little reminder. It's amazing how many people I talk to on a regular basis that say all kinds of crazy negative things about themselves. They often think that it's the other person, the other guy, the other girl, man or woman that is more capable, that has more ability, that's smarter, more talented. The thing so many people don't realize is we got a little secret. If we tell ourselves that we're great, if we focus on the things we really want that exceed our current circumstance and stay true to that no matter what, you'll understand genius is common.
Put the keys down, Kevin.
But I'm gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
I guess I have really been looking for love in this dating app. Yep, I'm definitely gonna call a ride home.